You're right. The PPC is doing well. People generally, I find, are just frustrated with all of the mainstream options, and they're not sure what to do. And how that will actually play out in the election will be, we'll see how that goes. But certainly, there's a lot of people frustrated and concerned.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Joining us live via Skype from the Wild Rose Province is a frequent guest on this program, Derek Sloan, candidate in Banff, Airdrie. Derek, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Well, it's a pleasure to see you again. We've known you as the former leadership candidate in the last leadership race for the Conservative Party. We saw how you were deplatformed and canceled by Erin O'Toole on trumped-up excuses that I don't think anyone bought. And now you're running in Banff Airdrie. Tell me, are you running as an independent? Why did you choose Banff Airdrie? And can you give us a report on the campaign so far?
Yeah, so I am running as an independent out here. We chose Banff Airdrie after sort of, considering some other areas, but we wanted to, I have a lot of supporters in various different areas of Alberta, but we wanted to make sure that the person I was running against kind of deserved to be targeted. And we feel that Blake Richards is the most prominent Conservative that's sort of carrying O'Toole's water out here. He's the guy that's calling people behind the scenes, getting them to back down. There's been a lot of discontent behind the scenes, and I know this with, some of the things going on in Ottawa. And people really were being told to stand down by the whip of the party. And so, we wanted to make sure that we're running against someone that deserved it. And I believe that Blake Richards deserves to go. And that's why we're running here.
Well, let me hand things over to our Alberta Bureau Chief and our Chief Reporter, Sheila Gunn, Reid, who is in Alberta right now. Go ahead, Sheila.
Sure. I was actually going to ask you a bit of a prickly question, as is my job, to hold politicians to account. But you sort of answered it for me. How do you address concerns of people who say, what the heck is he doing out here? He's not from here. Did he just is he a carpetbagger? Did he drop himself into this riding because it's the most winnable one for him?
So it's actually not the most winnable one for me. There would be other ridings that would be more winnable. But I was out here already for I forget the length of time, but we did 15 or 16 meetings in a multi-week tour over Alberta. And we didn't know exactly when the election was going to be called. But as, when I was out here and I was, trying to get candidates to run in this, whenever the election would be, and we wanted to make sure that we had somebody kind of in Alberta and also back east. And so the election came a little bit sooner than I anticipated, but we decided to, set a stake out here and fight. And I think we picked the right spot. We have a lot of supporters out here, a lot of friends, and it's been a very good campaign so far. We're fighting very hard, and I'm glad to be out here.
Well, let me ask you, Derek, what are your thoughts on the national campaign? We just showed the latest ECOS poll that shows things are fairly static. I mean, the Conservatives and the Liberals sort of tied in the low 30s, where they were 2 years ago. The news that I'm seeing in the latest polls, and again, this isn't just about polls, but that the People's Party is zooming at, it looks like, the expense of the parties where people used to register their protest. I think it's fair to call the Green Party a protest party, and I think that Bloc Québécois is a perpetually protesting party by design. They can never be the governing party. It looks like, at the expense of them, and perhaps some from the Conservative Party, the People's Party has some momentum. I mean, could be just a couple of polls, but seems to be the trend.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's certainly, neck and neck as far as the Liberals and Conservatives are concerned. You're right. The PPC is doing well. People generally, I find, are just frustrated with all of the mainstream options, and they're not sure what to do. And how that will actually play out in the election will be, we'll see how that goes. But certainly, there's a lot of people frustrated and concerned.
Do you have any comments on your former colleague, Erin O'Toole? You guys ran against each other in the leadership. Elbows were up. He later threw you out. I don't think he plays well with others who he regards as rivals. So, we'll take your answer, I suppose, with a grain of salt, but how do you think he's doing, both pragmatically in terms of the actual campaigning, but also ideologically in terms of what he's saying and promising?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the fact that the Conservatives and the Liberals are neck and neck is actually, kind of a surprise given how well the Liberals were doing only a few weeks ago. So that's a bonus to what they're doing. Now, is that because O'Toole is running a good campaign, or is that just because the Liberals are making mistakes? And I think it's the latter. I think it's just people are just tired of the Liberals. In terms of, the things they're actually standing on, it's hard to know because day to day it seems to change. And O'Toole is actually pretty good at kind of using a lot of words to kind of say not too much, which in politics can sometimes be helpful. It's not something that I really like, but it can help to kind of calm certain criticisms from the press. But it is clear that they're willing to kind of change direction and do a 180 immediately if they feel that they need to, which I suppose shows their acumen for campaigning. But a lot of people are going to find it hard to trust someone that can literally say one thing on Friday and something exactly the opposite on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about him. He's abandoned his position on firearms as well. Last question to our Alberta Bureau Chief, Sheila, and then we're going to bid you adieu, Derek, but we're grateful for you stopping by. You've always been a fan favorite, and ideologically, I know you're in sync with conservative ideas that many of our viewers share. Last question to Sheila.
Yeah, Ezra, you just touched on it with the flip-flopping on the gun rights issue, and that's an issue that I know is very important in Banff Airdrie, and it's actually been an issue that Blake Richards himself was a bit of a champion for to stop the demonization of lawful Canadian firearms owners. We're one of the most vetted segment of the Canadian population, but Erin O'Toole has just completely flip-flopped on this issue. So I guess, what are you hearing at the door? Because Erin O'Toole called the gun ban undemocratic, those are his words, and arbitrary. And now all of a sudden, he's totally changed course. So what are you hearing at the door from constituents?
Yeah, so a lot of people are upset on this, and it's kind of like, the carbon tax flip-flop was sort of strike one, and this is a big strike two. So a lot of people are upset about this, no question. And, they're frustrated that, frankly, they can't even trust what was a campaign promise from Erin O'Toole. So I think this is a big deal, and I think it's going to hurt them. I think it is going to hurt them for sure.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. Derek Sloan, independent candidate in Banff Airdrie. Nice to see you again. Good luck, and we'll see how things go in that hotly contested riding. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
If you can believe it, Justin Trudeau wouldn't let our reporters into the debate. We had to sue him in federal court, and we won. If you can help us crowdfund the cost of that lawsuit, please do. Go to letusreport.com. Thanks.